Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life YouTube channel, and welcome to this modern horror movie review video. So today we're going to take a look at a movie that has been out almost 10 years, believe it or not, and I watched it for the first time for this review, as hard as that is to believe. It's a film that garnered a lot of notoriety, won some awards and things. It really was really talked about a lot when it first came out. It also made a first-time director into kind of a household name. And that movie is Get Out by Jordan Peele from 2017. So yeah, the movie's already 9 years old. But yeah, Get Out, I'd seen bits and pieces of it. I've seen parts of the movie, so I kind of knew who was in it. But I didn't really know the crux of what it was about, like the premise, until I actually watched the full movie here. And you can see the back. There's some bonus features there. I just got it on the DVD here. But let's talk about Get Out from 2017. Okay. So Get Out is a 2017 American psychological horror film written, co-produced, and directed by Jordan Peele in his directorial debut. The plot follows a young black man who uncovers shocking secrets when he meets the family of his white girlfriend. On a suburban street at night, a black man walks alone, talking on his phone. A car pulls up to the curb beside him, sensing trouble. The man starts to walk away. A person wearing a helmet tackles and subdues the man, drags him into his car, then drives away. Chris Washington, a black photographer, travels to upstate New York for a weekend getaway to meet the family of his white girlfriend, Rose Armitage. On the way, they hit a deer, and Rose defends Chris when the officer asks for his ID, as he was not driving. He has uncomfortable conversation with Rose's parents, Dean, a neurosurgeon, and Missy, a psychiatrist. Later, Rose's brother, Jeremy, arrives, and Chris observes eerie behavior from the family's black servants, Georgina and Walter. Missy tricks Chris into having a hypnotherapy session with her, using the sound of a spoon stirring in a teacup as a hypnotic trigger, ostensibly to cure his smoking addiction. Well, in a trance, Chris reveals that his mother was killed in a hit and run when he was a child, and he feels guilty because he waited too long to call for help. At Missy's prompting, Chris's consciousness falls into a dark void she calls the sunken place, where his body becomes temporarily paralyzed. The next morning, Chris no longer has a desire to smoke. So that's kind of the setup, the premise, the beginning of Get Out from 2017. As far as the cast goes, we have Daniel Kaluuya as Chris Washington, Allison Williams as Rose Armitage, Bradley Whitford as Dean Armitage, Caleb Landry Jones as Jeremy Armitage, Stephen Root as Jim Hudson, Lakeith Stanfield as Andre Hayworth, Logan King, Catherine Keener as Missy Armitage, and Lil Rel Howery as Rod Williams. So yeah, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 2017 Jordan Peele movie Get Out. So I was a little nervous about watching this movie because it has been out for so long. It's been talked about so much, and so I was afraid my expectations might be too high for it and the actual result delivered. Fortunately, that wasn't the case because this movie is really, really good. It really is. It's hard to believe Jordan Peele, who was basically involved in comedy prior to this. This was his very first horror movie, his first movie ever that he directed. Wow, talk about hitting a home run right off at your first at bat, basically, in a World Series game. That's what he does here with this movie. I really enjoyed Get Out. It really is as good as advertised, in my opinion. So let's just talk about the things that I liked about Get Out from 2017. And right off the bat, it has a really creepy and interesting premise that really works on so many different levels, and is also executed brilliantly by Jordan Peele. It's one thing for a movie to have a really interesting and engaging kind of premise. There's a lot of movies out there like that, but not all of them are executed as well as this one. So you have both the interesting premise and you have it being executed at a high level as well. That right off the bat makes this movie one to remember for sure. And what I mean by it works on so many different levels is obviously there's a lot of relevant themes and issues of our time involved in this movie that are very relevant. They were relevant in 2017. They're still relevant in 2026, and I dare say they'll still be relevant in another 10 years. So you can watch it on that level with like all the undertones and the thematic elements of the movie. But then you can also just watch it from a visceral standpoint as a horror movie, a psychological horror movie, kind of taking, I mean, if you wanted to, kind of taking the themes and the those sort of elements out of it, or not focusing on them as much, even though they're there. That's what I really love about this movie is, like I said, it works on so many different levels. The characters in this movie are really well performed. The acting is quite outstanding in this movie by the entire cast. But I mean, you got to start with Daniel Kaluuya, who's really the star and the breakout of this film. And you know, he won an Oscar, or he was nominated at least. I think he won, if I'm not mistaken. I guess I didn't research that all the way, but I know he was definitely up for it, as was Jordan Peele for the movie. But he really steals the show in this movie, showing off a wide range of acting ability, a wide range, where the movie starts and he's kind of this kind of chill, easygoing, chill kind of guy, soft-spoken, and by the end of the movie, he's having to mess people up to try to escape for his own life, and everything he experiences in between from an emotional standpoint is really, really good. In addition to that, I think Allison Williams, who plays Rose, is really good. She kind of has to her character has to turn on a dime midway through the movie. Bradley Whitford and Catherine Keener as the parents are really good. Really good in this movie. I think everybody. Stephen Root is in this movie. He's really good for the small amount of screen time that he has ultimately. But yeah, Daniel Kaluuya, that's where it starts and where it ends as far as the acting goes. But it's really good across the board. The movie's really well paced. That even when it's setting things up and not really getting into the horror right away, you're still really interested and engaged in what's going on. I was never bored throughout this movie, and I think that's a testament to Jordan Peele, frankly. He just knows how to set up. He knows how to set up those, not even scares. He just knows how to set tension in a very Hitchcockian kind of way. So yeah, all the credit goes to him for that. The third act of this movie really delivered as well for me as far as everything that was set up in the first two acts and how it really culminates in the main character's survival. I mean, it's one of the rare times where the third act of a movie really pays off from what's set up so well before it. So that was a big thing that stood out. I think the score of the movie and how the movie was shot is really well done, really impactful. Almost had some, and I don't think this isn't by mistake, but it has some like Twilight Zone vibes going on in there, and I think Jordan Peele was a Twilight Zone fan. I know he was involved in the last iteration of the Twilight Zone, so that makes sense, but there's definitely some sci-fi and fantasy elements to the movie that made me think of Twilight Zone, having to do with the like the hypnosis and the sunken place, as I described in the beginning of the movie. But yeah, it's just great. It has those, and obviously, if you know me, you know I'm a huge fan of the Twilight Zone, so I could really appreciate that. Just the overall setup of all the there's a lot of tension, a lot of uneasiness, and even awkwardness we feel for our main character, especially with the conversations that are had where he's around, whether they're with him or conversations that he's like standing in the background and can hear. And just the family's overall demeanor and their creep factor. Just spot on. It really worked. And again, Jordan Peele just did an amazing job of directing these actors and actresses, and they did an amazing job of pulling it off and delivering. So it was a really good marriage there between those two elements. So yeah, this movie just worked for me on so many different levels. As far as cons go, there really aren't any. The hypnosis aspect of clinging a spoon to send the character into the sunken place was a little out there for me, given how grounded the rest of the movie is. it never really explained how that worked, like why that affected certain people in a certain way. There was really no like backstory or explanation for that, and I wouldn't have minded a little in that regard. So that's one thing that I sort of came up with. It is a bit of a slow burn movie, but like I said, I was never bored and I was really into it the whole way. But just a kind of a warning for people out there that is a bit of a slow burn, especially the first act of the movie. It's setting up a lot of things. And I'll say also that it's not really like a scary horror movie. It's much more of an effective for its time horror movie, but it's definitely creepy. There's a lot of tension, a lot of creepiness, just a lot of things that are really done well. But yeah, as far as just being like scary and really scaring me, it's not really that. But I don't really know if it's trying to be that. I think it's trying to be more of a smart movie of its time that effectively uses real world things that are going on in a thriller kind of horror way. And if you've seen the movie, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I just it's hard to believe it's from Blumhouse. Definitely the best movie I think Blumhouse has produced. I'm trying to think if there's anything I'm forgetting about as far as pros go. There's some scenes that really stand out. The opening scene, obviously, with the guy walking on the sidewalk on his cell phone and getting captured by this person in this iron helmet. The scene at the parties, though, the one that really stands out in the middle of the movie where the parents, Allison Williams' parents, in the movie, the characters, they have all these friends or family over, and they're having different conversations with Chris and without him, but he can hear them, and they're just really awkward and really. And then there's that scene culminates with the character that gets captured at the beginning of the movie, and now he's acting really weird in the middle of the movie at the end of this party scene, and Chris takes a picture of him, and it kind of. They explain that he had a seizure, but at the end of the movie, you kind of know more of what it was. And I thought that was a really creepy, effective part as well, where he's starting to, I can say this because it's in the trailers, but he says to Chris, "Get out, get out, get out," as he's approaching him, and obviously the title of the movie. But that scene really stood out to me in the movie. But yeah, overall, guys, just an exceptionally well shot, well made, well-delivered film, Get Out, from 2017. And I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. Not quite a 10 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's very close. 9 out of 10 from Jordan Peele's 2017 horror movie, Get Out. Go ahead and comment down below if this movie, if you enjoyed it as much as I did, or if you didn't. I'd be interested to hear why or why not in the comments down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already. It would really help me out for the future of my channel going forward and the content. With all that being said, I hope you guys are enjoying this modern horror movie review series so far. Got a lot more movies to take a look at. But yeah, with that being said, thanks for watching, and as always, stay scared. Bye.